Please help.
It is. Well, you can take that very different ways. I got ChatGPT GPT to help me with finding a
Is
title.
that how you say it in Canada?
Yes.
Good.
So
At least you're not making
they
it up.
sorry.
What?
Oh, I missed what you were saying.
Oh, no, I was saying at least you're not making it up.
Making up what?
Yeah, we're lost.
I don't know. Okay, back to the point. What I was trying to
We should
say.
probably be in studio because
Stop.
I think we'll be able to read each other's cues if we're able to do that.
Stop distracting me.
I'm so,
If we were
I'm driven to distraction. I'm one big distraction.
If I had been in class with you as a kid,
it would be, no, yeah, wouldn't have been.
I would have been like in trouble because I laughed a lot, and it was usually the boys doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, but Peter did it. Anyways,
Again?
no. So what I was saying is, okay,
I was actually the
something,
quiet guy in class.
Yeah, I was quiet except when I was laughing. Welcome to Echoes of Understanding with Steph and Pete. We are two neurodivergent people who have been through our own journeys of growth and self-discovery. As coaches, we have real conversations about life, personal growth, and seeing the world through different perspectives. We're all about nuance, empathy, and a lot of fun. Thanks for joining. What I was saying, there are sometimes things that people will say, and for somebody like me, it feels stressful. And I know I can't be the only one.
Yeah.
Because whatever I'm feeling, I used to think I'm the only one that feels this way. And then other people say, no, you're not. Nobody else is saying it though. Then I realized, oh, okay, if I'm feeling it, then I'm not the only one. So there are sometimes, and this happens a lot in the personal growth, self-help, coach places, people will start saying, do something every day. You got to seize the day, make the most of today.
Yeah.
You got to do something every day. And I get it. I get the principle, right? Because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. Live your life, grow, do all that you can. It's a wonderful message. And yet, there's that yes and.
That's it. Yes and, yeah.
It has a certain, for some people, that can be anxiety inducing. For some people, it can be like, but I'm just barely surviving today. But I work hard at work and I'm dead tired, and all I got is I got nothing left. I don't have the time because I'm working 3 jobs. I don't have the money to go and live and do this and this and this, like all these people online are doing and going, go live your life and go do this.
Allegedly.
It's like, so in that sense, it can feel like for many people, I'm doing the best I can. F off. And I'm not the only one. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah.
And that's where I just get off, to be honest with you, because you've got, it can be a little bit ableist.
Right.
Very much ableist. And there's nothing wrong with living your life and growing every day. Like, it's wonderful. And yet it can be annoying and tone deaf to people who are just getting by. And I think those are the people that get missed in many of these spaces. Those are the people that are sitting there going, well, I'm barely functioning. I'm barely surviving. I'm struggling so hard. Peter, that was me.
Yeah.
For a long time. And I thought, what's wrong with me? I'm not like these other people who are out there living their lives and loving everything. And I didn't know how to get there for a long time. And I still struggle certain days. You know that. Because life is tricky for people. It
can be very
up and down. And so I wanted to speak to that because I just think that's really relatable and it needs to be said.
I agree. I say it like literally all the time because I still do struggle with that. And
See, even coaches do. They're
yeah,
not all like happy, perfect. Like that gets really
annoying.
yes.
Because it is. It is
It's
annoying. Let's face
freaking
it. Let's just keep it
annoying
real.
all
It
the
is.
time. And that's why when I'm online, I'm saying to people, you know what? I just had a bad day. I'm just like grumpy today. And like, I'll say this because I want people to know that while I am doing so much better than I used to,
Yeah.
but I still remember what that felt like. I still remember what I've come through, and I still have those days. I still have those thoughts. I have the tools now, but I still have that. And maybe certain things are actually harder right now, certain situations, right?
Yeah.
And yet I know there's hope. And yet I'm working through that and all that. And I have hope and I have, like, I'm learning the joy in it. And yet
Mm-hmm.
this is real and you're not
Yeah, it is.
alone. And
Yeah.
I think so much out there is freaking tone deaf. You know, I almost swore, but that's when I'm getting riled up and when
Don't
I'm
do
like
that.
this.
Yeah, gotcha. Now, I like this side of you though. It's you're always honest, but I like that you express it because you've told me in our personal conversations, and I've shared that with you as well, and I totally get it. And it's one thing that really, if I get turned off by anything, it's definitely uh, in the self help genre when it should be that way, high energy, and just seize the moment and all the things you just talked about. That's not always life, right? It's not always life. And I know with my particular set of, my brain chemistry, like at least once a day, I'll dip into that space. More often than not, it's at the start of my day. And in the absence of some really good tools that I've learned, right, and some coping mechanisms that kind of reset, um, I have a real problem. I do. And it gets very exhausting quickly.
Yeah.
And what I found, like in the late '80s and early '90s, when I was reading Tony Robbins and whomever else, so I can add probably a list of another half dozen that I listened to. It always seemed that it came back to that. It always seemed that it came back to, well, you're not doing enough, and you're not pumped up enough, and you're not hustling and grinding enough. That's why
Oh,
life sucks. So
cringe.
that's why when you wake up in the morning, like everything may be just fine, but you feel uh, like you just don't want to get out of bed. I know what that feels like. And I still struggle with it at least 3 times this week. It's like, oh, another day. And then I come back into not just the moment, but into my body, right? And I do the breathing stuff, which I'm teased about sometimes, but I do it, and it really helps me. But I too prefer a more sober-minded approach to this whole personal development journey that I'm on. I teach it, I talk about it. Yes, I coach it, but I really keep it real. I just keep it real. And I've been in recovery, as you know, for a number of years. And I just a reoccurring theme from the people I work with is like, man, you keep it real. Like you're still struggling, and okay, because I have a year clean, and or I have 2 years clean, but Pete, you have a decade, and I can understand me struggling with certain thoughts, but you say you're still dealing with it. Yeah, I am. And this is how I navigate through that. But that takes it to a completely different level because it's honest. And all of us have this internal BS meter, right? It doesn't feel right in our gut. We can be in the middle of a seminar or listening to our favorite author or speaker, podcaster, and everything's, they're hitting all the notes and their bells and whistles are going off. And then one day, inevitably that comes that like you got to keep grinding, and no matter what you have to do this and do that, and if you fail to do it, then it's not the system that I'm teaching, right? And no, I'm sorry,
No.
sir, ma'am, but it actually is the system that you're teaching, because there's no allowance for a bad day. There's like you have to like I don't mind sitting in my bad moments because I know they're going to pass. They have to, by law, universal law. They have to pass, right? I don't know one that hasn't, and I've had some pretty bad days, right? Some self-created, most honestly not. I don't control my brain chemistry. There are certain things about my physiology, and when I say that, I mean like dyslexia and certain chemicals in my brain, which, all those feel-good chemicals that I talk about don't always fire off the way they should. But I know how to tweak my body through breath. That works for me, and movement to get me into that space. And I learned that as a child, right? I always talk about like being one of four boys and having to act like my brothers were acting so I can feel like they look. And they were just being normal. But to get to normal, I had to do a certain set of movements and motions. And so I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's what it does is when people find hope and they find, a particular, maybe a teacher or a course, right? Or a group that they're involved in. And they think like this is the answer. And they have some really good stuff. A lot of it's backed by science. But there's no wiggle room for bad days. There's no wiggle room for bad times. You just have to get right out of it and get back up and get going. No. There's something there, and it when you feel it in your gut. Something that's you know it's wrong when you hear it. And I lost my train of thought just that easily. I'm not afraid to say it.
Well, that's
You're
why
up.
I say let's just be human, because it's like these are robotic self-help gurus.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're the problem. You're the effing problem.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to people, and this is where sometimes when I'm in these spaces, I think, oh, everyone else has got it figured out. Wow, I was late to the game, or, oh, I don't have it as figured out as these people because they're all the way up here. And then I get out and I talk to just everyday people living it out, out of the coachy spaces or whatever, right? And these people are dealing with, but they're not talking about it because they're pretending. But then you just talk to people and you're like, oh man, I just want to be heard. I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you, well, you shouldn't. Well, here's a thing that you need to do. Here's a tool. I listen to people because for years, Pete, I wanted to be heard. And all I ever got in the church, in the self-help places, all I ever heard was I'm not doing good enough. That's not good grammar. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not praying enough. You're not enough.
You're not enough. Yeah.
Excuse me. We are enough. You are enough because you're alive, because you are you.
Yeah.
No matter what. So it does not matter. And there is a shift happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited because I am finally like, yes, people, yes, this is the shift. It is not these self-help spaces where it's all about motivation and you got to do this. And those are type A people. And those type A people, I am not, Peter. So I always thought I can't do that because I don't get up at 4 a.m. and do 100 things before 9 a.m. I can't do that. I'm not that person. So I thought I can't do anything because I am not like them. And then you realize, well,
It's
I am
lie.
me.
Yeah.
And you are you. And we're going to do things the way that we do them. And that's okay. And half of those people burn out anyways, or they get sick.
Right.
How many stories have you heard of these people who are like, I don't sleep, I work hard, and then they have a breakdown or something? I'm like, that's because you're not sleeping and you're working too hard.
Right.
And you're part of the problem because you're teaching this to others.
Yeah.
And that's where I just thought I can't be that. I guess I'm doomed to live my life because I am not doing what they're saying I'm doing. And nobody seems to understand or listen.
I do.
And I said, you know what?
Listening.
I don't want to be like that. I do not want to be like that. I want to be somebody who is there, who understands and will listen to you.
Yeah.
And I want to give you hope, but I want to give you empathy.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm riled up. This is me
That's good.
riled up.
This is you riled up. I love it. I love it. By the way, you get you got a ding,
I get
because
a
I just love
ding.
everything you just said. Everything you just said really resonated with me. And, but also like this is a really exciting time to be alive, because there is a shift. You're exactly right about that. There's a shift in consciousness, right? And, there's a different vibration going on, or we're more attuned to it, I think, because I think as a species, we're coming to the end of a certain rope, right? And something's got to give, something's got to change. And it was good so this is the natural evolution of this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
as we go into a higher um, frame of living as a group, as a collective. And the real is back in fashion, or it's coming into fashion for a lot of folks for the first time, maybe. And they're realizing that, like, all these other things that we've gone outside of ourselves for, that's not where the answers are. The
No.
answers are within. That's the bottom line. And I really, when I say I'm excited, I really am excited about what's happening, because I see it too. And you're exactly right. There is a shift, and it's a big one,
And we're part
cataclysmic
of
to
it.
some, and we're part of it. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want people to just be able to breathe.
Right.
Okay, and you know how you say you want to be, if you're a coach or you're just mentoring somebody or whatever you want to do, you're mentoring, coaching the person that you were. You want to be
Yeah.
that person you never got 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever. And all I ever wanted was somebody to
Mm-hmm.
just say, I hear you.
Yeah.
And we can work on this together. And generally, those were like therapists who were paid to do that.
Yeah.
It was rare to find. Maybe I had one or two friends, but it was rare to find somebody who actually just didn't talk at you.
It's
But yeah,
unfortunate, but
and
it's
that's
true.
why when I sorry,
It's unfortunate, but it's true, because a
yeah,
lot of people learn a system, right? And the same system they teach, they replicate. And they'll go to these different gurus and learn their system, right? The one that got them hooked in and buying their courses and their books and flying across the country to see them speak. That same system they employ, right?
we just
But
repeat what we're given.
there's nothing original about it. There's no room for original thought. Like, life happens every moment in the moment, and it's one big moment to me. And it's a series of breaths. That's what this thing is, and vibration. And when you're able to live in that space, right, you're able to truly create what needs to be created in your life, and be plugged into the ever unfolding, ever evolving way of life. Capital W, capital L, the way, right? Because, like, newsflash, there's an architect, capital A, of this universe that we reside in, right? Newsflash. Something like intelligence, right? Universal intelligence, God source universe, put this thing together, and there are rules to it, right? And when we go against natural law or spiritual law, because there are laws, right? Just like the law of gravitation, there's resistance, right? And it doesn't always go our way. Without diving too deep into that, I just want to say, like, I couldn't agree more, and it's so refreshing to hear you say this. And quite frankly, I don't think I've ever heard you speak at this particular level in this
Really,
particular space like
I feel like I
this.
say it a lot, but maybe not. Maybe not in
Well,
this.
no, I think you do say it a lot, but the difference is you're becoming more comfortable being there, not just saying it and acknowledge it, but actually sitting in it. And that's when things start to move. And I'll tell you what moves, like the people you start to interact with, the fine folks that are listening to you now, or perhaps on the replay, will know that energy, right? And they'll want it, and they'll say, like, what I'm trying to say is you'll continue to change lives as a result of it, because there are people that are literally starving for truth.
Yeah,
Truth, capital T, truth.
And I love what you just said was so beautiful. And there was something you said that just reminded me of I okay. I grew up
Okay.
religious,
Okay.
and we were told that we were sheep, right? Like you're supposed to be sheep in a good way. But the funny thing is you're also sheep in a bad way because in a way of you don't think for yourself. That was how I was
Mm.
raised. And
Yeah.
this happens in and there can be cults within the self-help. Within anything, you see political cults, you see religious cults, you see online cults with whatever teaching there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can get so stuck in just regurgitating the teachings of some guru.
Right.
I did that. And I'll admit, Peter, I did that to people as well. I remember saying to a friend, God told me to tell you. Ew, I did that because that's what a
Yeah.
pastor said to us. That's what people said to us. And that's just the stuff that we said because it was what we did. You didn't think differently.
Yeah.
Or, I would say, oh, well, there's phrases that people just say to each other. And I did that because I didn't know any better. And I get that people don't know any different, right? They're just saying it. They want people to feel better. They think that that's going to help. They don't mean to
Yeah.
do that. And yet it's not helpful. And that's why I talk about empathy and hope. Somebody told me that's grace,
I love it. I love that.
whatever definition that is. But what is missing
Beautiful.
is that mixture, the nuance, because you can have, and I used to be more so empathy. I just like feel sorry for people and go, I'm so sorry. And we're staying in the victim mentality, which is not helpful. However, it lets people know like you're going to understand that I'm going through something. But I also didn't have that hope for anybody because I didn't have hope myself.
Ah.
But then there's people who just give you, I guess, the hope, but they don't have any empathy or they lack it or they don't know how to show that. They just say, "Well, you just need to do this and move on." And it's like, dude, there's so much more to this because what people are going through is what they're going through.
Yeah.
And you throwing a phrase
Period.
at them is not helping. And they're not listening because they are stuck in this place of, yeah, maybe they shouldn't be feeling okay, no should, but
Mm-hmm.
your feelings don't mean it's reality, right? Like I know
Right.
when I'm having a day and my feelings are I'm feeling really like off the charts. I now know this is not reality. This is just how I'm feeling right now. Doesn't mean it's true, right? And
Right.
yet I'm still feeling like that. And I still have friends to this day who will say, well, you just need to you create your own reality, Steph. You need to ah, meditate and
Right.
you need to be grateful and go through all this. And I'm like, you know what? Uh, I also am experiencing this. Maybe I'm low in iron. Maybe I'm low in vitamin D. Maybe like it can be so many different things. Stop just telling me that everything is in my mind. Like I understand, I know that so much of this is mindset.
Yeah.
And yet there's other things too. So just stop it and stop telling me because that stuff is victim shaming. Not that I'm a
Yeah.
victim, but I'm saying there is
I
so
get
much
it.
of that shaming you for how you feeling, shaming you for you shouldn't. I'm like, yes, I am. Maybe I just don't talk to you anymore when I'm like this. I don't
Right.
talk to many people as much as I used to. I used to share my story with everybody
Mm-hmm.
because I needed everyone to make me feel better, right?
Gotcha.
That's not helpful. But I also realize these people just keep talking at me and they're not helping and they're making it worse. Um, which I've learned through that. Okay, I don't enjoy this. And I don't need to talk about with all these people.
Yeah. Not
Um,
everything is for everybody.
no. And that's, that
Yeah.
was a good lesson for me because yeah, I can work through this myself or it's going within. It's taking that time. but also just not talking to so many damn people.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Echoes of Understanding with Stephanie Ann Webb, and I'm Peter Carrington, and you're on Noon Vibe tonight. And we really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us for a few minutes on your Saturday evening. And yes. Now, do you mind holding space for me, Stephanie, for like 30 seconds?
Absolutely. Oh, he's leaving me. Okay. Well, I just did my whole rant. Okay. Well, I'm going to read some messages here if you guys don't mind. Yeah, like Laura said, meditation. Yeah, on this app, guys, we got meditations, affirmations. I mean, these things do really help. For sure. And that's what I do. You know, like we have these tools. We have these tools. Going for a walk, just getting for a walk. Sometimes, like I used to just always put on headphones and listen to podcasts. And I still do that.
Nice.
But not as much as I used to. Now I will just go for a walk just to be. And I don't need to listen to anything.
That's right.
And
I love that.
I love that. Isn't it wonderful?
It is spectacular. I love it.
And it is true that just, the being in the present moment, nature, meditation, gratitude,
right,
finding joy in things, sometimes for like, well, you and I both go to coffee, like
yeah, that's
that
it.
coffee, yay.
Love it.
That makes us joyful. Things like that. And yet it's also just, I have these tools, and I keep saying this a lot more now. Yes. And because things are not black and white. Things are not, it's either this or it's this. It's like, yes, I am feeling how I'm feeling. It could be something from my childhood that just came up. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I have the tools. And also maybe I just need to sit in this or have a cry. The other day, Peter, I just cried. Not for really any reason. And I'm still releasing. Tears are releasing.
Yeah.
Stuff from my childhood,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. Thanks for holding space. Yeah, I think like we're in the center of this divine operation, this grand scheme, this ever unfolding thing we call the universe, right? And it's alive and it's breathing, right? And if we get quiet, doesn't mean we have to be still all the time. You can be on that walk, but if you get quiet and just stay there, right? It can breathe through you. It flows through you. Just allow it to flow and not resist it. And I love that you say that, because one of my favorite things to do was I take several walks a day, as you know, and like clockwork, I had popped in a podcast, and like clockwork, I would pop in Noon Vibe. But I was smiling as you began to talk about it, because that's exactly what I do now. Like I'll throw my earphones in, right? I'll throw my earbuds in, but at the end of a walk, sometimes I've discovered I've not listened to one thing, right? And I was just in the moment. And just like being in my body. And I love how that feels. Our friend Dr. Ra calls it present moment awareness. And you can do that while you're walking, while you're breathing, just being with you. And I found that like for me, at least, because the connotation that the self-help genre has of that living in the now, like the now becomes a thing, right? And it becomes an object, in my mind at least. And I'm like, no, that's not it, because I might as well just be listening to a podcast, because it's just another thing for me to think about. If I'm thinking about living in the now, maybe I'm not, that's what I'm thinking about, living in the now. What the hell is that, right? Because the real me, right? The real me, right? The real me, right? Because I don't think the man thinks and expresses his thoughts through the brain and body, right? But the real me, right? The part that was before what you're seeing, if you're looking at me, came into being. All that stuff, that energy, that God source energy that always has been, always will be, can be created and destroyed. Like that part of me needs more than that. That part of me needs to break out of that, quote unquote, now. It's kind of fundamental. Like it's, yeah, of course it's always now. It can never, ever be anything but that, right? So we can find that we're in the search to live in this now moment. And before you know it, it's passed you by because you're looking for something, right? You're looking for something that, that may exist, right? But that's not where we want to be. I don't know if this is coming across right, but it's just the nothingness of it, which is everything. And that's a state of no thought and just being. And those are not just words. I'm like literally feeling it right now. My mouth is moving, but I'm like in that space right here, right now. And there's not a better space to be in for me. Like I've, as you know, with my pill addiction, I took some pretty neat pills, right? For lack of a better term, that ended up being kryptonite to me. And I thought that was it. That was great. It's nothing compared to this. It's nothing compared to that spark of divine inspiration, that present moment awareness that you can experience. And yeah, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And we all have that. We're all part of this. We're all centers of divine operation. Period. It's not woo-woo. It's the truth. You can label it. Listen to me very carefully. You can label it however you want to label it, right, baby? But the bottom line is the real you knows the words that I'm speaking because they're not necessarily coming from me, but maybe through me. It's not my truth. It's just the truth, right? So there's just no better way to live. And it's not always like that. Like it can get away on me really quick. Because I'll start looking around and then start looking at my whiteboard and start looking at this and maybe answering that email. Like you have to operate in life, right? You have to use thought to do that. But sometimes I get too caught up in it. It gets really, really crazy for me.
Life is trippy.
Life is trippy. You said
It's
it, sister.
wild.
Life is
There was
trippy.
a few things
That sounds
you
like a
said.
whole podcast.
That'll be another one.
Life is trippy.
Well, yeah, there have been moments where I just feel, like you were saying,
Yeah.
you're just feeling complete love for everything and everyone. Have you ever had
It's
those
bliss.
moments where you're just like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
whoa. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
can I stay like this forever? Because it's like what I imagine passing away would feel like when people talk about near-death experiences and they say, you just come into this incredible love. Whoa. So that's kind of how I imagine that to be. And then
it is.
So you
It
have those
is.
moments and that's like the highest vibration.
Yeah.
But of course, because we're human, we have downs. And there'll be days where I'm just like, that person, rawr. And I'm like, no, what happened to my love?
Right. But what does that all come from? In order for you to say that, how does that have to happen?
Well, it really depends what it is.
Yeah.
I think depends on the situation, maybe like if I'm like really tired and grumpy and any little irritation, right? You're just like, oh, that can affect you. Also, there is a fear for me, and this kind of goes deep when people are saying things and we're disagreeing. It can be okay, but I have this fear, and it comes from like a people pushing at me, because this is hugely from my dad as well. You have to believe what he's saying. And if you don't have he uses all these fallacies, they come at you at once. And I get like,
Yeah.
and I freeze and I feel like that little girl again. And I just get angry and I get fearful.
Yeah.
And I feel shame because it's like, I didn't have enough to say my thing, what I believe or what I wanted to say. I didn't stand up for myself. And I, something like that can really affect you.
Yeah.
Comparing yourself with other people. You and I talked about that before.
And it's not
That can really
necessarily
get
true,
you.
right? Doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it true.
Doesn't make it true. But if you're feeling that, and that's why it's like, okay, the awareness of this, I'm feeling this.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I know it doesn't have to be. I don't have to keep focusing on this. And that's where I have had a conversation with people as well with regards to this. Stephanie, what you focus on matters. Yes, I understand that. But I'm allowed to, in this moment, maybe vent about something or just be. It doesn't mean I'm going to focus on this for weeks and get
Yeah.
and create this story where it's like I'm making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
That's where it's unhealthy. It's unhelpful. But it's like if I'm feeling like this and maybe like my dad said something and I'm like, Pete, my dad, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
letting it go now.
Yeah.
I have friends who won't even talk, like, I can't say it out in the world. And I'm like, you're just stuffing it down. That's the problem.
That's right.
Now, maybe you don't need to vent it. That's fine too, but you can't say I can't do this because I'm not allowed to put it. People have this fear.
Yeah.
If I say anything negative, anything out there, I'm manifesting that. And I'm like, I had that fear. Like, I can't think this at all, Peter. That's going to happen. Like, there's this huge, especially in the manifestation world, there's this fear
Yeah.
of anything
Yeah.
you think or say or do. Oh no, I'm going to create that. It's like,
And
okay,
that happens.
calm
You know why
down.
that happens? Because people believe in it. They
Yeah.
believe in. They believe in, like, if I think what I'm really, if I vocalize these negative thoughts that I'm having, this negative experience, we're talking about what I don't want, it's going to happen. And that happens oftentimes with remarkable precision because we believe that it'll happen. We have faith in the thing that we fear. Therefore, it comes to fruition. And we really don't have faith all the time in the things that we want because, oh no, it's too good to be true. And although you may not say that, you feel that and think that and believe that. But you have but to just step back and just observe the truth of what I'm saying right now. And then that is, if you have fear and faith, it'll manifest. If you have fear in courage, that'll manifest. And a lot of times that does come with incantations. A lot of times that does come with the repetition of an affirmation and maybe doing it in front of a mirror and seeing you say what you want to say and speak into existence what you are. Because as soon as you speak it, it exists on a different plane, the one we can't see. It doesn't manifest right away, but it's there. It doesn't mean it's not there. But what's
Well,
helped
I
me
know.
tremendously in the negative, if you will, the negative thoughts that people, so-called negative, because they're neither positive or negative in my mind. They're just thoughts. And I arrived at that conclusion, right? I arrived at not the conclusion, but I came into the realization of that truth by, reading The Power of Now and reading Autobiography of a Yogi and realizing that our thoughts are just things, right? They're tools and they're very effective tools. They do exactly what they're designed to do. It's only when we allow them to run the show. Thoughts are going to think, right? And one thought creates a new thought. That's the very nature of thoughts. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we learn to observe our thoughts for what they are, we're not our thoughts. We're not our bodies. We're not our emotions. And we learn to do that, like, life changes for you. That's the only way this man has got and remains clean and clear off of those prescription pain meds. Because there was a time when I said, like, there's just no way that that's going to happen. I'm semi-sober minded. This is about a decade ago. There's just no way I'm going to, I can't, because this is like the magic for me. And then it wasn't the magic, it was kryptonite, but I still thought I needed it, right? Because there's just no way that can happen. But I learned to quiet my mind. I learned to look at my thoughts and say, like, they are just that. And I learned to just get into that space of who I really am and what really is, and through that, I'm able to distinguish the truth and take the sting out of it. As soon as a negative thought comes or a negative pattern that really feels bad, I challenge it. I don't want to say, is that true? I just automatically challenge it. And it's just an automatic shift. I don't always do it spectacularly, right? I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of it and I'm able to do it. I've seen me do it. But in order for that to happen, I had to get really quiet. In order for that to happen, I had to be sent to a place where I just had a lot of time on my hands, right? To just be alone and read and think and meditate. And then stop meditating. I went beyond meditation and I just was. No thought, no meditation, no specific form of breathing or breath work, just being conscious. Yeah.
It's very powerful when you realize you are not your thoughts.
It's everything.
Because I didn't know that. Like, I remember hearing that. Maybe I'd heard it before, but it didn't really click for me because I believed everything that my thoughts told me. That story that I was given as a kid that I created myself, made into who I thought I was. And then I found out for the first time, oh, you don't have to believe those thoughts. But that was in my mid-20s, and I still didn't really understand.
Yeah, and if you look around enough, you don't have to go very far sometimes to see like there's some evidence of those thoughts, right? And whatever you're thinking, right? There's evidence that like, hey, oh, I'm always going to be, popping pills because that's what I've always done for the last 2 years or whatever it was at the time,
And
right?
who are you to think that you can overcome this? You're just worthless. Like all those things that we keep,
big
either
time.
people have said or we're saying to ourselves because like I would do that, I've struggled with binge eating and I still do. It's a lot less than it used to be, but it's one of my heart, like since I was 4, I started. So anyway, and it was my body's way of keeping me safe. I know that. And yet it's not working for me anymore. But when I went on so many different diet plans and I spent thousands of dollars on all these different things.
That's what they're designed for.
Yeah. And I don't do diets anymore because if I'm on a very strict diet, 2 weeks, I might last and I might lose weight. And then it's like back to binging because it's a manufactured thing that it's not dealing with the healing within me, the emotions of why I was eating. Right. But anyways, so now I know that kind of stuff. And now but anyways, when I would kind of quote unquote, mess up, I would say, well, it doesn't matter. I messed up. Oh, I'm not as, it doesn't matter. I just keep going because I ruined it. And so I would just do it more and more because, oh, I messed up one time. And then I started learning, okay, it's fine. You had a slip. It's okay.
You can pump the brakes.
And we move forward. It doesn't mean I have to keep going with that same pattern. But when I didn't know that, I would beat myself up and I'd make it worse and I was shaming myself. It was like, I always think of Martin Luther when he was literally flogging himself when he was before he left the Catholic Church, and he was like hurting himself because he's like, I'm such a sinner. I'm awful. Constantly beating yourself up.
Oh, wretched man that I am, who will save me from this body of death?
Yeah, I grew up in
talking about the things he wants to do or he doesn't do, but the things he doesn't want to do, he does those things. That wasn't him, but that's the premise
Paul.
behind it, isn't it?
But I think, but you know what I'm saying. So that awareness then of like, okay, but once again, when I would see people doing the perfect thing, going to the gym 5 times a week, and I tried, I was exhausted and I'm like, oh, I hate the gym. And that's okay because I tried the gym. I used to go there.
Yeah.
Now I prefer different things at home that I enjoy.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
And,
big time.
And then you see other people, oh, they're doing this and oh, look how great they're doing. But you're doing great too.
Yeah.
And I think that does come to comparing, but it's what we're talking about. Living, not racing. And if you can't do an hour, there's this one yoga woman who does yoga on YouTube that I follow. And she sometimes has 20, 30-minute yogas. And I was like, at the 30-minute one, I'm like, oh, is this over? I don't like that one. But I do the shorter ones. And she goes, even just doing 10 minutes of yoga a day, just start there.
That's true.
She goes, just do the movements.
Right.
That is so much more helpful than all the other stuff of like, you need to be doing this long or you need to have it like this. No, I don't.
And I think you automatically start to increase that time because it's a pleasant experience, and that energy is good energy, and it multiplies, right, and it produces of its own kind, and before you know it, you'll be up to that half hour or whatever. But you just start somewhere, and for me, like that's really a big part of the conversation. It's like just start and do something, and simple is in fact sexy. Up to last week, I was saying simple is not always sexy, and there's some truth to that because the simpler things are so simple. Like sometimes we miss them, right? And they can't be effective because is it really that easy? You mean if I just learn how to breathe a certain way, I can change my biology and my brain chemistry? Yes, you can, and that's been scientifically proven. Although as a species, we've known that for thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
We have.
I know.
And
it's
ancient
wild
wisdom.
how we don't just go back to ancient wisdom. What are we doing?
Right, because it would make too much sense in this world, right? But that's rather sarcastic of me, but I'm not sure I mean that statement, but it just makes a lot of sense to do that. But yeah, so for me, just to kind of come full circle for a moment, for me, it's like getting back to that state of no thought, or getting back to, if I'm really busy, if I need something to do, well, why not go to the movies and watch my own thoughts? Because I have always had this like whole sitcom going on in my head anyway. That's just the way it goes in this man's brain sometimes, but it's very entertaining, and or just like breathing. It's what we do. Is breathing. That's our first food, right? And we haven't lived a day on this plane without it. So it's kind of important how we do it, in the manner in which we breathe, at least a couple of times a day, or maybe even once a day. It'll change your life. It's the truth. It's not my truth. It is the truth. And by the way, science proves it to be true too. Science is what science is, right? Science is not creation. Science is discovering creation. Just science is confirming to the scientific mind, to the scientific instrument, that is in fact what they were saying for thousands of years. It happens to be true, so just very interesting, very compelling. We are coming to a close.
Seconds. Yeah. Do you want to say anything before you
I want to say that I love you, Stephanie Ann Webb. I want to say whoever's listening tonight, I may not know you, but I do love you in and through this amazing universe, and I just appreciate you stopping by and spending some of your Saturday evening with us right here on Noon Vibe. Peter Carrington.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to say, just before we close this out, one of my favorite things is just you're doing the best you can with what you've got. Just start, just do something. It doesn't have to be big. And that's the thing that will keep you going. That's the thing that's like, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got. Can I do a little bit more? Maybe. Yeah, I'll start there. Okay. But it's not this like, you got to, maybe you can't seize the day today. Maybe you can't. That's okay too. You're doing awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Sending love to you all.